Hey guys, I have a question for you today. What are you willing to sacrifice sleep for? Hunting, maybe late night video games, maybe a good movie? There are a lot of things in my life that I have sacrificed sleep for. A lot of times that there's something I really wanted to do, so I would stay up all night long, stay up until daylight the next day because I wanted to do it so bad. There are also things that I've wanted to do so bad that I would get up at crazy hours early in the morning because I wanted to do it so bad. We're willing to sacrifice for something that is important to us. Today I want to talk about Mark chapter 1 verses 35 through 39, the last set of verses in what we're reading this week. I want to point out two things that were priorities for Jesus. The first is that Jesus prioritized prayer. Verse 35 says that Jesus got up very early in the morning. In fact, verse 35 says that it was still dark when he got up. And he went off by himself. He went off to, it says, a desolate place, a secluded place, and he went off and prayed. Now, I want you to remember, if you look back at verse 32, it said that when evening had come, that people started to bring others to Jesus to be healed and to have demons cast out. So Jesus had a late night the night before this, and yet he still got up early in the morning before it was even dark. Why did Jesus sacrifice sleep for prayer? The reason was because speaking with God was Jesus' priority. It was important to him. We sacrifice for the things that are important to us. But not only did Jesus prioritize prayer in these verses, Jesus prioritized the gospel. So verse 36, it says that Peter and all of the people who were at his house with him, they all went looking for Jesus. Why were they looking for Jesus that morning? Why did they get up and go find him rather than waiting for him to just come back? The reason was, according to verse 37, when they found him, they told Jesus, everyone is looking for you. The people of the city were looking for Jesus. Why were they looking for him? Well, first, they were looking for him because he was famous. That's what verse 28 says, that Jesus had gotten a reputation and he was famous in the area. And secondly, because they wanted to be healed. That's what verse 32 says, is that they were bringing people to Peter's house where Jesus was so that he could heal people who were sick and heal those who were possessed by demons. But Jesus' response, even though there's a town full of people who are in need, who need to be healed of sickness, who need to be healed of demon possession, even though those people are looking for him, in verse 38, he says, no, it's time for us to go somewhere else. It's time for us to go somewhere so that I can preach the gospel in other towns and other places. He says, this is why I came out. Jesus didn't come to Capernaum to heal people. He came to tell the gospel. Jesus later in his ministry would tell people on multiple occasions that the two greatest commandments in the Old Testament were, number one, love God. Number two, love your neighbor. This is exactly what Jesus displays here. He loved God and he longed to speak with him. And he loved his neighbor so much that he was willing to travel and sacrifice so that he could tell them the most important news that they would ever hear. Do you love God and do you love your neighbor enough to sacrifice for them? Would you sacrifice for prayer like Jesus did? Would you sacrifice in order to tell the gospel to someone? The answers to these questions show your priorities.